So I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the president an apology.
No, I respect President and I respect American people. And if, I don't know, if I think that we have to be very open and very honest. And I'm not sure that we did something bad. I think maybe sometimes some things we have to discuss out of media, with all respect to democracy and to a free media. But there are things where we have to understand the position of Ukraine and Ukrainians.
After the president and vice president used their meeting with Volodymyr Zelenskyy to promote themselves as some kind of tough guys, the Ukrainian president went on Fox News, of all places, to continue to make his point to close-minded questions.
President or vice president or somebody or senators, it doesn't matter, big politicians, yes? When they, for example, say that Ukraine is almost destroyed, that our soldiers run away, that they are not heroes, that Ukraine lost millions of civilians, that his president is dictator, you know? What is the reaction? It's not about me. The reaction is that where is our friendship between Ukraine and the United States? That's it. This is filling. And that's why I do not want to lose our great partners at the United States. And I just said that it's not the first time. I said it by phone, and we had some other conversations, and we had in Munich meetings, and I said, please, be correct. I want to be very polite. I mean this, be correct with this number.
Zelenskyy is just as frustrated about the extreme set of lies that Donald Trump operates from as much as many Americans are. It's depressing that he has to explain why lies about him and his fight against Putin are harmful. But, here we are.
When you say about the number, each person is important. When you say about 1 million of losses, we don't have any million of losses. When you speak about the territories, maybe some territories and etc., it's not just territory, it's houses, it's people's lives. Their fathers, mother, their relatives, grandfather, they died or during this war. Nobody wants to forgive Putin. It's not funny, or fairy tale. This is real life. That's what I said. And when you said it, a lot of times to my big friends who've been here today in our dialogue, and then they again begin to repeat the same things, I think it's not, that's why I said it's not good way between partners, good partners and friends.
In other words, MAGA leadership is treating real life and actual war-torn areas as games that they can characterize any way that they want. And they don't expect the president of that country to correct the record. Because when he does, some of the biggest unprincipled Trump ass kissers see it as an opportunity to completely shift their perspective.
I want to tell you and your people, you're the ally I've been hoping for all my life. Not one American has died defending Ukraine. You've taken our weapons and you've kicked their ass. And I'm very proud to have you as our ally.
And I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelenskyy again. I think most Americans saw a guy that they would not want to go in business with. The way he handled the meeting, the way he confronted the president was just over the top. So I think the relationship between Ukraine and America is important. Vitally important. But can Zelenskyy do a deal with the United States? After what I saw, I don't know.
Does anyone see any morals or principles anywhere in this guy? He's the same one that told Republicans to tell Trump to go to hell. And if they promote this lying piece of garbage like him, that they'll get what they deserve. So while the country is in shambles on the world stage and siding with dictators, the only part Graham was wrong about is that we're all getting what they deserve.
At lunch with President Trump, what did he say to you about his interactions and whether he thinks...
He was shocked. He was very upbeat. I told Zelenskyy, we'll talk about security guarantees. We'll talk about ceasefires and how the war ends. This is a process. You have a new relationship with America, a $500 billion, $500 billion deal that President Trump is proud of, that gives us an interest worth defending. Let's talk about the positive. But he was terrible at Munich, Zelenskyy, and I think he has made it almost impossible to sell to the American people that he's a good investment, that he is a good business partner.
Do you think President Zelenskyy needs to resign to resume these peace talks?
He either needs to resign and send somebody over that we can do business with, or he needs to change.
No talking, no negotiating, just demands to back up an extremely weak president that needs one of the most flip-flopping politicians in modern history to come out and carry his message of petulance for him. They need to flood the conversations with their false reality before too many people realize that we're on the wrong side of this argument.
You've heard from a lot more Democrats recently that they understand that there could be some concessions, that we're not going to get back to the pre-2014 lines. Even Zelenskyy has talked about him understanding that that might happen. And again, I'll repeat that he said, I will step down for being the leader of this country. His, I think a 57% approval rating. People are pretty fond of him. We know that wartime presidents don't have elections. Just putting it out there. But he said, I'll do what I can to make a peace deal. But what they're signaling in this and what Zelenskyy is signaling with his attitude is something that the leader of the CDU won the German elections, Merz, who will become the next chancellor, was talking about, that Europe is on its own with Ukraine now, that they do not feel that they have a partner in the U.S. who's going to be protecting and supporting Ukraine or them going forward, and that Donald Trump has aligned himself more with Vladimir Putin than with the traditional Western world order, that the alliances in the post-World War II world are over, and that he likes Vladimir Putin better.
You know, when facts like that get conveyed, Jesse Waters, or any other one of the useful mouthpieces, make sure to insert a flood of ignorance and stupidity.
I don't know. I understand you want to make a deal. And by the way, this deal doesn't seem like it had a lot for the Ukrainians. If what he wants is security.
Germany is Russia's biggest customer. All they do is buy energy from Russia. And they didn't give a lot of weaponry to the Ukrainians, not nearly as much as we did. The Germans sat this one out, same with the French. The British and the Americans did the heavy lifting.
As a percentage of GDP, we rank 17th in terms of how much we've given them. That
percentage, shermenage,
no,
it's a lot of money.
Yes, of course.
We're richer. It doesn't matter, Jessica. We armed them to the teeth, and they did a hell of a job stopping the Russia war machine. But now it's time to end the war.
It is not just Democrats that are critical of this. Noted Democrat Karl Rove was on earlier talking about it. John Bolton, I get he doesn't like Trump anymore, but this guy is a traditional conservative person who's saying that this is a huge nightmare.
Yeah, it really must be nice for your argument in opposition to a reality-based breakdown of European relations and our obvious foreign policy change in favor of Russia to simply be percentage shermentage. You know, but this is how dumb we've become as a country overall. And the effects of our addiction to stupidity have been hurting us for decades. You know, MAGA is simply pouring gasoline on the fire so that we can no longer recognize truth from their fiction.
What we just witnessed between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and President Zelenskyy inside the White House was an ambush. It was a planned ambush designed to embarrass President Zelenskyy in order to benefit Vladimir Putin. That was an embarrassment. That was an abomination. What you watched was American power being destroyed in the world as everybody watches President Trump become a lapdog for a brutal dictator in Moscow. It's got to be hard for Americans to understand how the White House has just become an outlet for Kremlin propaganda. Why the health of Vladimir Putin matters more than the health of democracies. That was absolutely extraordinary to watch. The planned embarrassment of an ally, just because it's good for Russia. Nothing about that is good for America. It makes us look like a laughing stock. It makes us look like we do not care about democracy. It gives a green light for Russia and China to invade their neighbors, to unveil a new era of global instability that's terrible for the American economy and terrible for American workers.